Good afternoon, everybody. And just a very quick video to show you how to use the Sanskrit dictionary. So you can start looking up words. You're going to have so much fun with this, and it's going to make you feel more connected. Okay, so let's just pull up the dictionary. Hang on. Yep, let me just do that again. Make sure. Okay, so share, and you should be able to see that. Okay, and you just type in Monier. Okay, it just comes up for me because I've used it so many times. But Monier Williams Online Sanskrit Dictionary Advanced. Just type in Monier Williams Advanced and it will come up. Okay, you click on that and there it is. So you open it up. Okay, here's your dictionary. It's fantastic. It's well over 100 years old by now, and we still all use it. Back in the days when I'm sure Monier Williams had loads and loads of help from Brahmins in India that never got credited for the help. I mean, I'm guessing that. I can't imagine. There's no way he would have done this himself. So it's an enormous dictionary. There are others, but it's one of the favorite ones in the field. It's certainly the one I use. So here in the top white box, you type in your Sanskrit word. Let's go with a simple one, like the verb bhu, to be. Oh, okay, so you just put in bhu, bhu, make sure you got your aspiration, everything. Click, and here you are, bhu, becoming, being, existing, produce. Easy, okay? Now, what if you put in purusha? Okay, we had that noun. Over here it says no matches found. Why are there no matches found? Because I put in a s, and purusha has a retroflex s. So we have to put in a different symbol because if you put in s, it's gonna come up with the dental s. Don't want that. So you go down on the bottom here, the help. You click on the help. You get this page. You go down to the bottom of that, and it says transliteration help. Click on that, and it tells you what symbols to use for words that have phonemes or vowels or consonants that don't exist in English. Aspiration is no problem. You just put an H after the right k, g, g. That's not a problem. But what about long vowels? We don't have long vowels in English. You do in Sanskrit. So a long vowel is just, look over here, is a capital. So you just use the capital E, U, right? What about retroflex R's? We don't have that. If it's a single retroflex R, use just a single capped R. If it's double, ri, you use the double. Very, very, very rarely you'll find l, capital LR. You will find it in like krip. And as for kri, I don't think you'll ever run into it, but should you, and you won't, capital LRR, right? So A is regular, I is regular, the long vowels, samyukta, o, ow. Now, what about anushvara? Anusvara, capital M. And what about visarga? Capital H. Okay? Now, and over here then, you've got k, k, g, k, no problem. What about nga? We don't have a guttural nasal, so you put in a capital G. So basically the nasals that we don't have, Sanskrit has five, we only have a two. So the two we have are at the bottom here, nama, but the other three use caps of what? Of the unvoiced, unaspirated. So the k, k, g is the unvoiced, unaspirated, so the nasal of that varga is capital G. Ch, ch, ch is the unvoiced, unaspirated, so the nasal nya, like Patanjali, is the capital J, right? G is like anga. Okay, and what about a retroflex na, like Ganesha or Krishna for that matter? You use the you use the capital, you use an N here, capital N for retroflex N. Now notice these are all caps. That's your retroflex. So na, your retroflex varga, madhurya, you use the caps. Okay, so use caps for long vowels, retroflexes. That's basically it. And you use G for the nasal of the Kavarga, and capital G and capital Ch for the nasal of the Chavarga. The only other thing you need to know is that for sh, you use a Z. Okay, so for if you need to do a Z, I'm sorry, the sh is a Z sound. You have to put a Z in. So that would be like Shiva. You'd have to put Ziva in. Okay, so you need to know these. Take 10 minutes, 5 minutes to know them. I mean, how hard is that? Just caps. You use caps, except for the, you just have to sort of, and if you forget what, you have to know what the nasals are. The nasal, okay, G and J. And that's not difficult at all. So if you forget, you just go back. You go back here. Here's the main page. Purusha. You go to help, right? Go down to transliteration help. You won't have to do that more than a couple of times. So now we know that we've got the wrong S in there. We put in the capital S. Let's see what happens now, right? Because that's retroflex Purusha. Ah, that's better. Now the dictionary recognizes that Purusha, okay, a man, a male human being. I mean, in philosophical, in Sankhya philosophy, it means the Atman, but otherwise it just means, we've had it as male gender, Purusha Linga. So it can just mean it's a general word for a male. Okay, follower of Sankhya philosophy. And there's loads of different meanings, by the way. So you can scroll around, and they're not, many of them are, are connected to a primary meaning, but they're not all. So Alice and I were pondering about this word Saṅga, like we have this Saṅga now, right? The Sanskrit, our little Sanskrit Saṅga. Now I'm going to put in Saṅga because, when you first write it, you think it's going to be spelt Saṅga. If I do that, no match is found over here. What have I done wrong? Well, that's Anushvara. It's some plus ga, right? Some is a prefix, my friends. We're going to be a whole chapter on prefixes. You have the verbal root, which in this case is hun. It's a very irregular root. It looks like you look at it and you think the verbal root should be ga, right? But actually that's hun, to kill, is a very, very old Indo-European word, and it's irregular, and it tends to morph into a guttural. In certain environments, we'll see, for example, gnanti, hunti, and then it becomes gnanti. But don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I shouldn't have said it. So some means together. So now you're going to put, and you can put it with any verb. But what happens when an M meets what happens when an M meets any consonant? Becomes an ushvara. Oh, what does that mean? You go down to help, go down to transliteration, and anushvara is up here on the top line, right? With the vowels, you've got anushvara and visarga. You got to put in a capital M. So armed with that little piece of information, back you go, and you now, right? You'll do this for a while. You'll put in something. You'll put in a word, and it won't come up. Don't think there's anything wrong with the dictionary. There isn't. You have missed. You need to put in a capital, or something's missing in the way you've put it in. Okay, so now we're going to put in our capital M, and let's hope that works better. Saṅga. Ooh, that's nice. It likes that one. And notice what a weird verb this is. Saṅga, but really comes from some plus hun. It's completely irregular. So it should be some hun, but it isn't. Hun morphs into ga. And most of the meanings of hun are like killing kinds of things, right? Well, at least if you look up hun in any other context, it means to kill. And some always means together. You put some before a verb when there's something about the verb that causes coming togetherness of whatever the verbal action is. So the hun morphs you only see it with some, it becomes a multitude, a quantity, a heap, an assemblage, such as in our Sanskrit Saṅga, right? But it really, what is the actual dhatu, the verbal root? You would never guess this unless you knew this. You would not, there's no way you could know this. You just have to know, eventually you get to know that hun is irregular and can sort of morph into ga. And we'll see that when we get to the third person plural of the present tense of hun. The singular is hun plus t, as it should be, hunti, but the plural which should be something like hananti. It isn't. It becomes gnanti. And we don't need to worry about that now. But the irregularity of the verb hun lies ahead. Okay, so let's put in hun without its prefix. Okay, right? Hun, and it has all this killing kind of stuff associated with strike, beat, pound, hammer, smite, slay, hit, kill, etc. That's its primary meaning. But for what and there's no necessarily logic to this. When you add a prefix to a root, don't just let this go through you. Don't write it down. There's going to be a whole chapter on these prefixes, upasargas they're called. Prefixes have their own meaning, like Patanjali's anu, shasanam, the first sutra of the Yoga Sutra. So anu means to continue doing whatever the verb is. In Patanjali's case, it's shasanam. Verb becomes a noun. Shasanam, anushasanam, continue to teach. So many of the prefixes have their own meaning, and they add that onto whatever the meaning of the verb is. So continue teaching, continue eating, continue walking in the case of anu. Some prefixes have their own meaning, but that meaning only mildly comes across when added to a dhatu, a verbal root. And some prefixes have nothing to do, the meaning of the prefix and the meaning of the verb, when they come together, the end result has nothing to do with either of them. And I believe, and I'm going to say Saṅga is one of those, because ga should be a killing kind of word. Some should be a kind of together kind of word. But it doesn't mean, killing together or mass slaughter or anything like that. It ends up being a very benevolent word, Saṅga. So the reasons for that, of course, probably out there. I just don't happen to know what they are. So, okay. So all you need to know is, here it is. Start playing around with it. Start looking up your words. Of course, they're in the, Goldman's going to give you vocab words at the back, but you might have fun with this. And I'm sure there's loads of other mantras and invocations and passages that you run into. You wonder what they mean. You can start looking up, but you've got to put in, remember, no declined form, no conjugated form. When you put the word into Monier Williams, if it's a noun, it has to be the stem before the ending is added. If it's a verb, it has to be the root before any endings are added. Now, once you've got it in there, the root, it will give you declined forms, some of the common ones. So here it gives you hunti, here it is, gnanti, here it is, gna, right there. You see that erratic gna. Really should be hataha, hunti. They should have, most of them are hut, but occasionally you get this gna. And linguists will tell you why that is. Her is kind of the back of the throat. Her comes from down here. So it sort of is a type of guttural. At least it comes from the same part of the throat. Then a linguist will tell you exactly how it becomes a sort of hard guttural. But notice most of them, you see the forms. Some are hun forms, some are gun forms. It's just irregular. Don't look for a rule for that. But all I want you to know is you've got to put in the root. But once you put in the root, it will give you some of the main forms. Conjugated forms. Okay, and remember, look, so smite, slay, it's got all of these killing type words, but then sometimes you might get this completely different meaning, stuck down. In this case, you don't. Really, they're all kind of, even to dispel darkness is a kind of destroying of the day. So mostly it's destruction kinds of words. Okay, so you have to put in the root is what I'm saying. And when you're having nouns, they have to be undeclined. It has to be the stem form. The stem is the nominal root without any ending on it. Remember, Goldman gives you both. He says, learn both. Learn the stem and then learn the first person singular, because that will help you know the gender. Okay, so my friends, there it is. Monier Williams at your service, at your disposal. Fantastic little tool. Well, it's not a little tool, it's an enormous tool. In fact, it's your life support system for any Sanskritist for the next, at least a lifetime. I used to think at this point, I would be just reading Sanskrit like the New York Times, but no, I'm still looking up every other word. Partly, even if you know what the meaning is, there may be other meanings. There may be a primary meaning. And if that doesn't fit in the passage, like, wait a minute, it doesn't this mean such and such? Even though you think you know what it means, you go into Monier Williams and you'll find that there might be some completely random, different, not random, but a completely different meaning as one of the options. Okay, enough said, my friends. And chapter 5 coming up. I think I told you, real short, easy chapter. I think Goldman's giving us a little bit of breather after the long chapter 4. And so you should be fine with chapter 5, and I'm feeling good that we're almost a quarter of the way through. So well done, and no dropping out. Okay, my friends, we will see you whenever we do. I think we see you like a week Friday. What day is it today? Maybe it's Friday today. Okay, take care, and we'll see you within a week. How do I stop this?